I could have eaten and then I'd never know. Or I could obey God and see his miraculous power work in my life, not only change my heart, but get rid of my shingles. Like it is just that simple. It's simple, even though it's not always easy. And what more validation do you need than the presence of Jesus himself to say, I'm proud of you. You're in the right place doing the thing that you're called to do.
Yeah.
And same thing with you. You're in the right place. Laneshia, you're in the right place. And so let's talk about this. You guys read some of the early exposure chapter.
Ooh, yeah.
At least that's the name of the chapter right now. It's called Early Exposure.
Oh, yeah.
And this chapter, it deals with how platform talented people, these are people who have these flashy abilities to do different things that other people want to platform, or they may want to platform because they're incredible presentations. But because the talent is seen before the character is experienced, I will present something prematurely, which I call then early exposure.
Yeah.
So there's a couple sections y'all wrote that y'all read, and this is y'all the first. This is my wife read it. I read it.
Right.
I want to say y'all stepped into my space here.
We did. Thank you.
And you read just a portion. You read Dark Room and Early Exposure. Did you read both of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna let Laneshia. You just read this, so it's fresh.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go? You want to go early exposure? Or you want?
Early exposure.
Let's go with it.
When you were debating over which sections of the book you wanted us to read. I'm glad that you decided on those. And selfishly, I'm reading it going, now, did he choose this because this is where I am right now?
Wow.
Because I'm processing through some things right now. But what an incredible picture to put to an experience that people have that they don't know is happening. Because I loved how you talked about how you and your brothers, y'all are all incredibly talented. You grew up in a talented family. And it's nothing for somebody to come to y'all's house and be like, oh, let me hear, Michael sing or Chuck play or whatever. And it's like, you're out here now.
Yeah.
You're out here now and you got to keep that up. But a lot of times people are not saying, hey, let's work on that stuff that you need to be maintaining behind the scenes before you get on this open microphone.
Yeah.
Before these lights turn on, before all of these things. And so I probably need to read it again. I hope that it's coming out sooner than later. Because we need, and we've been through different ministry platforms. We've, had an opportunity to go through like character and core things and courses and trainings and be made aware of things, blind spots, opportunities, things that we need to like check in our own hearts, not saying that you have to be perfect. And I'm not saying you have to be polished, but I'm saying you need to be aware of that. You need this information.
Yeah.
And so as I was reading, I was tracking back in my life because I grew up on platforms, in my family. How many times have we been before a live mic, before the lights, before a crowd? And he mentioned it earlier, things going on that were unchecked, things that were surfacing that maybe you weren't aware what was an issue.
Yeah.
But when you are on those platforms, those things get exposed to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
We want to put out the good stuff, right? We don't want people seeing all of our junk on the stage. But hey, and sometimes it's necessary. It's a part of your testimony too, right? You get to share the things that you have overcome, the things that you're going through, the places that God has shown you that other people need maybe deliverance in, or encouragement that they're not alone. You're not the only person that's struggling with this or dealing with this, and you're standing before people with an open microphone.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Early exposure is real. Like, it's like you didn't ask for it.
Didn't ask.
All you did was what was natural to you, and then now they're pushing you out.
Yes.
Man, look, let's be real and honest. When it comes to, mostly Black Christians in church, that's the norm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get out there.
It probably happens in other church settings from people from other backgrounds, but I know for sure if you are a kid or a young person and you have a talent, they're going to put you up in front of people.
Yeah.
I've seen it a million times. They put little Timmy up.
Not the real little Timmy.
I'm just saying, this is a name.
Yeah.
They put a little Jaren up to preach.
Right.
I don't even know who Jaren is.
Jaren.
I'm just saying, how many times have we seen that?
Yeah.
And they up there really just mimicking what they see other preachers do. But what that's doing, it's really feeding their flesh. Because people are like, oh, you are amazing. Keep it going. And you start building this dependence on how people react to your gift.
Was it the blue light exposure that you were talking about?
So that's the dark room.
Yeah, the dark room.
In there, I'm thinking about that as you're speaking because you get up there and you can sing. Michael, get up there and sing, but nobody's telling you, and I'm just for the sake of the conversation when we just read, how you even handle that kind of stuff. The people, the praise, what they're saying to you, the criticisms, all the things that come with the human factor, having an audience. How do you deal with that?
The blue light is the human audience.
Man.
Yeah.
So you guys read a part.
We're telling all your business.
We gonna tease this chapter.
Yeah.
So here it is. In the dark room of development, it is a room that has to be completely blocked of a particular kind of light.
Right. Not the light, but a particular kind.
Light.
Okay.
Not all light. Green light, blue light. On the light spectrum, on one side of the light spectrum, the energy for that light is intense.
Yeah.
And if you're going to develop film in a dark room, that type of intense light will destroy the development process.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the actual photo paper, which is me, that this image is being impressed upon, cannot handle blue light.
Yeah.
Until the development process is done.
Yeah.
Then you could open up the window shades and turn on the light on because I can take it. Because now I've been developed enough to process that level of energy.
Yeah.
The light that I can handle in the development phase or the photo paper can handle is red light because it's low enough on the light spectrum to give you an ability to see and to perceive, but not intense so much that it is insensitive to where you are. So here.
I think I just had an epiphany.
Oh boy, this is so good.
What you just explained makes me think about Adam and Eve in the garden. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil is the light that they did not need to be exposed to. God allowed them to pick of all the trees, all the fruit in the garden. Just don't eat that one. The tree of life is the red light. That's the development, the God development that we need. But man, when we eat of that tree of the knowledge of good and evil, it opens up exposure to things that are destructive to us. So much so that we can't even eat of the good stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's going to just...
Oh, yeah, they were put out of the garden. They ruined the entire experience.
That's what you explained. It just took me there.
I think that's a great way of looking at it because the pre-exposure to blue light, which is the praise, the applause, and the criticism of humans, of people. Yeah. Before a person has established an integrity of character that is defined by God's word, by the Holy Spirit, by a sense of identity, will create a new image.
Yeah.
And so now what people say to you was more important than what God sent you to say.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. How people applaud and praise what you've done becomes the oil or the gas that energizes the vehicle to go.
Yeah.
And so now I'm motivated by people, and this is something that you did say this. And here's the thing: when you grow up as a talented person with the platform talent, yes, you do get exposed early, and it's very, very common. But you realize it doesn't matter how, because for me, the people I got exposed to, it wasn't many people. It's not about the amount of people.
Sure.
It's the perspective of the people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It is actually you being placed in a position, and this is one of the reasons why when you see celebrities or well-known people behaving in a way that seems unusual to you, it's because they've been exposed to a lot more blue light than you've ever been exposed to.
Right.
Thanks.
The level of impact that most of them had far before they understood what they were there for had already damaged them to a point that their behavior is now an outer working of an inward trauma. That is what, and it's not that something bad happened to you. It's that you were pre-exposed. You were exposed before you were prepared. I write about this, that I was in a position where I was on a platform singing about a God that I did not know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was on the platform standing in a position that you're a target. Literally a target, not just a target for people, but even a target for the enemy.
Yeah.
I was attached to something that was bigger than me, and I had to then grow in that environment. And so talking about this, now this is not a matter of if you should be in this environment or if you're in this, you need to hurry out of it. But as you understanding the dynamic of what's happened in your development, so that first you get a chance to determine where you are and what's really happened and how that's impacted you, so that you can start making different decisions. Mm-hmm. I had to make some very different decisions. I had to understand that there were even seasons, and I talked about this in the past, that I was pursuing things that God was not releasing for me. Mm-hmm. I tried everything I could to make it happen, and God was literally saying, "It's not them, it's me."
Oh man,
it's not the church, man. It's not the record company, it's not the radio promoter. I won't let it win, because if I let that win, if you think you've been pre-exposed now, if I let them pick the record up, and I can tell you, I have a list of opportunities that I thought were missed for me. I had a list of record deals and contracts and things that I was like, why is it that every time I get signed, every time I get an opportunity, every time I get someone's attention, it stops before it starts? Mm-hmm. Everyone, listen, I have people approaching me. I'm like, hey, I didn't ask them.
Right.
They asked me. Yeah. They wanted to do this with me, and I was excited about it, and it still didn't happen. And perhaps that is God's, not the lack of God's provision, but the presence of his protection.
Yeah.
Right? And so for a creative person who understands what it's like to have to walk away from things, and both of you have had to walk away from some things, can we talk about the exchange between what you've had to sacrifice and now what you have, and then what God brings in reward to you that you thought you had to chase?
Ooh, wow. This is an overwhelming question. Because yes, we have had to walk away from many things that we thought, well, this is it, right? It's lush.
Yeah.
The water is fresh, nice and cold. The temperature is fine. So I have this thing that I just say out loud, and it's probably like me medicating myself by saying, you know what? Nothing's wasted. Nothing's lost. Because I don't always understand why I have to walk away from certain things. But later on, I get to find out that, you know what? I learned a valuable lesson in that place. I gained a new connection, a friend in that space. I got an opportunity to sow into somebody in that place. I'm always looking for people.
Yeah.
So I got an opportunity to give something that God wanted to use my hands to give. There's so many things, right? We can go down the list. And then sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes it's like, I don't understand that. I don't understand why I had to walk away from that. I don't understand that yet. But God is faithful. And my exchange is always looking at it through a winner's lens. I'm always winning something because God is a good father and he's always giving good gifts to his children, me being one of them, you being one of them. So looking back at all the things that we've had to walk away from, it's like, okay, nothing lost. Even if I have to keep telling myself that until I understand it, that nothing was lost. And then you get the lesson. I think once you get over yourself, this is, my self-talk, get over yourself and pay attention to what it is that God was trying to get to you. A word, a lesson, a connection, a new perspective, faith, because it takes faith to walk away from things that, you're talking about your journey with Fred, we'll just use that as an example. It takes faith to walk away from something like that. Mountaintop experiences, right? That's what the world sees. And that's what we know what it is. It takes faith to do that. Faith is not easy. And it doesn't feel good a lot of times.
And you know what? I don't want to tell too much of Fred's story, but Fred tells a story about how he was with the Winans.
Mm-hmm.
And
he just online recently tells the story again with one of the Winans sons.
Marvin was on there. I think if we were talking about the same thing.
And he talked about
Bishop
how
Marvin Winans.
He had this point where he was with one of the hottest, gospel groups, and he was starting his own.
Yeah.
And he had to walk away from that to do something new. And I think something that we see is like what you're walking into is not as developed as what you're leaving.
Ooh, I guess.
But what if God wants to use you to develop the thing that you're walking into?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're back in the wilderness. Like, you're like, something now has to grow.
Something.
Yeah.
You got to have faith that what God is growing is better for you than what you have to leave.
Yeah.
Man, look, and it's about perspective, though.
Yeah.
Right. So in my testimony, when God, gave us the charge, like, okay, it's time for you to walk away. I'm like, okay, all right, you must have something like.
Yep. You think, okay,
crazy
Prince is about to call.
It's about to be
Prince.
I'm about to go. Yeah.
We're going on tour with Prince.
I had really unhealthy expectation of what the next season was going to be.
Wow.
And when I tell you, nobody called me.
For years.
For one whole year.
At least.
I didn't get one phone call.
Yeah.
Now, where I came from, I've done. Mm-hmm. I find myself in a church ministry running sound for third graders.
Yep.
I'm in a kid's room running sound playing.
You go from South Africa tour.
I'm from the highest high to what's perceived as the lowest low. But what was so great about that season for me was I got a chance to be a part of a ministry that valued character over talent.
Yep.
And it changed my life. Changed my life to the point to where now I'm starting to discover like who I really am.
Yep.
And who God really wants to develop me into be. And man, it was so the humility that it takes to be in spaces like that and not boast.
Oh yeah.
And be like, I'm too good for this because I came from here. Man, it takes so much humility. And I needed that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how underdeveloped I was in my character. I didn't know. So I needed that time for God to work out those things in my heart, the way I looked at life as a husband, a father. You know, I needed that development. And man, God was so faithful. Like, I didn't stay in the third grade room for long, but I needed that experience. And then God started like orchestrating these instances where people started to like figure out who I was or what I did. And they'd be like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
What are you doing?
That was entertaining, to say the least.
And I'm like, man, I'm just serving.
Man, I can recall at some point in my journey, after we done a lot of stuff together, did a bunch of records.
Yeah.
And worship pastor, big church, and me really needing some help. And, I'm going to therapy, going different things, and someone tells me about Celebrate Recovery, and I start going to that.
Yeah.
Walking into this church, and nobody knew who I was. They didn't care.
Yeah.
They didn't listen to the kind of music I recorded. As a matter of fact, it was a Church of Christ. They didn't even play music in there.
Yeah.
So they didn't care about that.
Yeah.
And I remember the season where God introduced me to a deeper level of like, hey, listen, this is not about what you have the ability to do. You need to spend some time here with these people. Being in a community of people that you would never, ever choose.
Man.
And now those are people that I treasure.
Yeah.
Because that's where a lot of the talk about the core of who I am, that I'm able to place the ministry talents on top of, strong enough to hold it up. I'm grounded.
Yes.
And when you get pre-exposed, you don't have the grounding to handle what comes along with that type of pressure. And you and I both know sometimes the predicament you find yourself in, the choices you end up making, the people you end up connecting with, and those things that begin to derail you. And what the enemy is trying to do is he's trying to upset what God is putting in you.
Yeah.
He's literally trying to subvert what God has spoken over your life. And so it is the favor of God. As much as you would think the favor of God is an upward promotion to a bigger and better place.
Right.
But sometimes the best way for God to add to your life is to subtract.
Oh, man. Absolutely.
It is literally addition through subtraction.
Absolutely.
It is saying, and you won't get a call. It's not punishment.
Yeah.
It's love.
It's love, man.
It is God. There is a scenario. Let me tell you, Darius, there is an altered universe. What do y'all call it in those movies?
Multiverse.
The multiverse. In the multiverse,
Okay.
there is a version of you who did not exit the season when you should have. And there's a version of you who never married this woman. There's a version of you that was preoccupied with the opportunities that you can see and taste at the time, not aware of what God had for you in your future.
Yeah.
I don't know that man. I know the one sitting in this room.
Yeah.
I am grateful that I don't know the story that could have been. I'm grateful for everything I missed. Every party I missed, every event, every concert, every opportunity that I thought was mine that never made it to my address.
Yeah.
Oof.
I'm grateful for every dollar that was intended for me that never got to my address.
Yep.
I am grateful for every person who saw me and forgot to call me. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. No. Thank you. You don't even know that I'm talking to you because you don't even remember. I want to thank you because it was God's providence that allowed it to go, but only so far.
Yeah.
but to make sure that I got to the place he intended on time. And here's what I love, that even if you've stepped out of God's will and you have done some things that you regret, I love the way God has the ability to reset your life. And I don't mean reset you back to zero.
Yeah.
I mean redeem lost time and advance you to the place of effective ministry he intended you to be at this moment.
Absolutely.
This is what I have experienced in my life. There are years that I wish I could get back. But the power of God's grace to do something in me that I can't explain has even power over time itself to develop you and get you to where you should be on time. And that is the power of the wilderness. Now, you can leave if you want.
Right.
Nobody's holding you hostage to obeying God. No one's going to make you do it. As a matter of fact, your friends are going to tell you it don't take all that. You know, when I share, you know, over the years, things that God has led me to do. As a matter of fact, I remember when the Holy Spirit told me, Michael, I want you fasting for 21 days starting Monday. And I'm thinking to myself, you got to be kidding me.
Right.
Let me tell you what the next thing I heard the Holy Spirit share with me. I heard, what in the world? These kids are just running up and down the stairs. I heard the Lord tell me something that was funny. The Lord does have jokes. He told me, Michael, you're not going to die. Because in my mind, I was thinking, if I don't eat for 21 days, I'm gone.
Right. I'm out of here.
Listen, start preparing the funeral. I ain't going to make it.
Right.
I'm just going to drive to the hospital and just get a room. And it was funny, but it was in that season. During the 21 days, whole 21 days, in the middle of it, I get shingles. So I'm sick. I've got shingles. Wow. I'm losing weight fast. I'm not feeling well. I'm at the doctor, and the doctor's telling me what shingles are. I don't even know you. It's like the virus for chickenpox still lives in you, and certain things can traumatize those cells or that virus, and they can resurface. Now I got shingles, and they say, hey, these shingles don't go away. It takes a long time. And then I had a friend tell me, man, you need to eat. Why are you taking yourself through all this? Why would you you got shingles, man. It's obvious that something's wrong with this fast. You need to eat. Now, you would think that's simple.
Right.
I mean, look, it's food. You think God's so petty that he's going to get upset because you ate when you had shingles? And look, he's sick. He understands, because God understands everything. He always understands our heart.
Yeah. But
here's something you miss. When you tell God that he needs to understand your heart when you need to understand his word, that obedience is the preferable choice over telling God what he should understand.
Right.
Well, the long and short of it is, I continued the 21-day fast after the doctor told me I had shingles, after I was prescribed medicine that I should have been eating food with.
Right. Wow.
And I was healed of shingles in a week. But what I got after the 21 days was a life-changing transformation. The Lord told me, what if I told you that the only thing separating you from what I showed you can be and where you are right now is 21 days to me?
Wow.
Would it be worth it? I'm like, absolutely. Wow. I would take 21 days of hunger to be a new person.
Wow.
That is that's like a metaphor for understanding, like, whatever it takes to obey God, it does take all of that. I could have eaten and then I'd never know. Or I could obey God and see his miraculous power work in my life, not only change my heart, but get rid of my shingles. Like it is just that simple. It's simple, even though it's not always easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes, listen, the pain is real. The sacrifices are real. The challenges are real. The financial, not getting a call, don't miss this. Not getting a call means money missing. That means I was getting paid.
Yes.
Now I'm not getting paid. It's really what it means. What it comes down to now, I got a wife, I have a family, and I'm trying to find a new way to bring in the bacon, and it's not happening, and I still have to trust you. Mm-hmm. God led me to leave my engineering career. When we were working together and the financial crisis, the housing crisis hit, and our funding for the company went away, and the salaries were gone, I went back to the recruitment office that had placed me before to find another job. They sent me on an interview. I went to this interview for a design job, electrical design. I threw the interview. I only went to the interview because I felt it was the responsible thing to do. And I'm sure we talked about these things. Like, what you gonna do? What am I gonna do? I don't know. What we gonna do? We gotta figure this thing out. I go to this interview. They're asking me questions. I'm like, yeah, I think I can do it. I mean, I try, I wasn't selling myself at all.
Right.
Because I didn't want the job.
Right.
I walked out of the office, and before I got to my car, the recruiter called me and said, they love you. They absolutely would love that. And here's God said, you ain't getting out of this that easy. I'm going to make you choose. You tried to throw it, it ain't going to be that easy. It's on you. I've already told you that this is the direction. And now it's getting tough. You don't like it. You want to bounce. You really don't. But you're trying to get out of this. Mm-hmm. And here it is. You get to choose. You either stay with me and obey, or you take the job. We all know the story. I didn't take the job. The job was offering me more money than I was making at the company.
Wow.
So the decision had to be made, which meant I had to stay with the company whose funding just went away.
Yeah. Wow.
And then trust God. Now, how is that a bad predicament? I get to trust God for his provision.
Right.
I didn't get the check that I hoped for. I got a whole life.
Wow.
That I've been praying for. Listen, I can go on and on about this, but we have walked these days, nights, weeks, years together. I want to just tell you how much I appreciate y'all over the years of just being consistent friends. You guys have always encouraged me. You guys have always affirmed, even for a while, we weren't really connected. And I remember we got reconnected at Gateway, and we got to be together a lot more. Mm-hmm. And then I moved, and we were close to each other. So I moved with y'all. So y'all were out here first, and I came.
Yeah.
And I just see how God has placed us in close proximity. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful for you guys to come share. I would ask y'all a question. And this is me opening myself up for a little fun.
Uh-oh. Remember you said that.
I did, because we've been serious for a minute. I think we're a little over time. We're a little over an hour, I think.
Hour and 12.
Hour 12. So let me ask you guys a question. Is there anything you guys would like to share with our family out there that watches us, the tribe, the folks that's just checking the podcast out right now, that a funny moment, something that I may have done or said that I perhaps regret?
Man.
Oh my goodness.
Because they saw me when I was not just Mike. They saw me when I was Mike on the mic.
Mike on the mic.
Oh my God.
See, they saw.
Oh, yeah.
They saw me when I was
Mike on the mic.
All the jokes, the handmaiden.
So that's where I was gonna go with
Daughter of God.
See, the handmaid, it wasn't like a specific moment, but the season of the handmaiden that, boy.
You have to describe what that is, because
I don't need, listen, I brought that up to my chagrin.
Please explain to
I was hoping you would use another one.
You brought it up. So
the women of God.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're going to get me canceled.
Yeah.
It was a different time.
It was a different
It doesn't matter. They don't care.
I won't get into the philosophy behind the handmaid.
That was
but I will
so
say,
funny.
I remember, and there's some proof on YouTube, I think, of a concert. Maybe it's on YouTube, maybe some I have, where Fred actually would call you up on stage and you would do the whole handmade bit.
It was a comedy
concert.
routine.
It was a comedy routine, yes.
And I was pretending to be an old preacher.
Yes.
And old preachers were sometimes called the women in ministry. I don't know if they actually did the handmaidens. Daughter, Anyway,
to help me.
So here, listen. So I appreciate your help.
There you go, Siobhan. There you go.
Listen,
Siobhan's like, boo.
but that's in my past. I don't tell them jokes no more. My wife,
he's been delivered.
she has banned that version of comedy from this house. My wife would say, Michael, you tell great jokes, but at the expense of other people. So I've laid that down.
It's okay because I started calling you son.
You did.
So,
and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean,
it just means that you're older than me.
Man.
Woo, you see?
But this is our relationship.
This is how we. And listen, I just like when you say something like that, and that guy with the beard is looking at you. It's like, well, man, that was funny, but it might not have been worth it.
Hey, look. I will say this.
We've always had so much fun.
I will say this. We have grown a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
A whole lot. I mean, to be men in our early mid-20s when we first met, from where we were then to who we are now, is a testament of God's goodness and His faithfulness. Yeah. And like you said, talked about just submitting to His development. Yeah. Doing what He's calling us to do. And choosing that, man, I've seen God, and He's doing such an amazing work in you and through you that's blessing us in real time. So I just want you to know that.
Thank you, man. And I want to thank you for helping me on projects and stuff. This year, or last year now, we released an album, Overflow Live.
Oh, yes.
And some videos on YouTube. He helped us with one of those videos and content that we're producing right now. I want to thank you guys for believing in me, partnering with me, and being a part of the Life in the Wild podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, so let me do this. I know this is not a commercial, but if you have not listened to the Overflow Live album, I want to just recommend, and you can look in the show notes. There's a link there for Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. Rob is right here, so you know what I'm talking about. He helps me with all that kind of stuff. But I want you to listen to the album, because the album is literally an expression or testimony of all the stuff we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
The result, which is overflow, which is the abundance of fruit that the Lord has nurtured and cultivated through this lifestyle I've learned to embrace. So this is Life in the Wild podcast. These are my friends, Darius and Laneshia Fentress. I'm so excited you guys have been a part of this. I hope you guys like, share, and subscribe. You are exceptional, right? Because this is about exceptional people, exceptional callings, and you're committing to an exceptional lifestyle because you're going to see what God promised actually happen and manifest. But it won't happen without your faith. It won't happen without your participation. God's calling you to partner with Him so that what He spoke over your life comes to fruition. God bless you. I'm Michael Bethany, your host of Life in the Wild podcast. Holla at your boy.